And we are live. Another CEO Wisdom podcast today with Daniel Wiener. He is co-founder and CEO at Autobound. We both share a passion for Pokemon and Super Smash Brothers. Daniel would probably whip my ass in Nintendo 64, and I would whip his in the Switch that I recently sold because gaming would gamify my brain the wrong direction, and it would just be a waste of my precious CEO time. Glad to have Daniel on today. We're going to talk about sales. We're going to talk about AI. We both have Outbound as our middle names. And yeah, Daniel sent a bunch. He's so good at it that he even got his investors that way. Shout out to Brian that connected both of us. So quite excited to talk to you, Dan. Before we get in the convo, I would like to pitch my company, podbuyer.com. If people want to start, scale, or be invited to podcast, they can go to podbuyer.com. Podcasting is pretty dope, to say the least. It gets you great guests like Daniel Wiener today. It gets you insights. It gets you leads. It gets you clients and gets you subscribers if you want to build a community. So it is quite the recommendation, podbuyer.com. Dan, welcome to the pod. Can you tell us a bit more about Autobound?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Charles. Hey, everybody. My name is Daniel Wiener. Born in New Jersey, grew up in Denver, went to school in Los Angeles. I live in Austin now. We run Autobound globally, though. So much of our team is in Ukraine, San Francisco, Dallas. Anyway, my background is my first job out of college was at Oracle as a BDR there. Fast forward 6 years now, my best friend and I built Autobound out of a passion that we faced firsthand in sales. Writing personalized emails manually sucks and takes a lot of time. Really hard to do, really hard to scale, and difficult to teach. Like personalization and relevance is just monotonous, time consuming, and resource intensive. So we had this theory years ago that at some point automation and AI will converge to enable systems to be built that write really good emails with technology as opposed to manpower and staring at 5 different screens and racking your brain for a few minutes on the best way to phrase something. Anyway, we built what is now on G2, one of the leading AI email assistants that collapses a bunch of relevant information on prospects from LinkedIn and news sources and financial reports and shared connections to write a compelling message about 60 to 120 times faster than an SDR can with a better outcome. So we're still pretty new to market. The whole generative AI scene continues to evolve really quickly. But it's a fun space, problem that I'm passionate about. So excited to dig in today.
Yeah, and let's jump straight into it because I use Apollo to write my emails, and the congrats on the funding, congrats on the promotion and all of that. It seems, well, it's just that a bunch of folks are using it, not only in the industry, but software providers as templates. How can we be more original than that? Which is a tough question because it will go as far as or smart human brains can go. So how can I personalize my stuff so much that it doesn't look like a bot has written it? And obviously, if it can be deeper than the funding or the congrats on the whatever, then that would even be better.
Were you saying you used Apollo's version of AI email writing? I heard you right.
Their AI is like somewhat near absent right now. It's in development. I actually got access to the beta-ish version on Monday, so they're still picking up there. But I would be referring to their plays, right? So plays like they have the congrats on the funding, congrats on the news, congrats on the merger, and so forth.
Yeah, great question. Yeah, I remember selling before email sequencing technology came out, like Outreach and SalesLoft, and but you could do mass emailing through Excel and Microsoft Outlook and Word if you were savvy. Those were like the old-fashioned days. Anyway, when Outreach and SalesLoft hit the market, even if you sent a very templated message to 1,000 people at once, you get a decent response rate because the bar of what was required to generate a response was a hell of a lot lower than it is now. Now, if you like, when we raised our funding round, I got 1,000 messages. Congrats on the funding, which feels as generic today as a more templated message might have felt a handful of years ago. Long story short, just saying like, congrats on the promotion, congrats on the funding round isn't really enough. We consider those sorts of things. There's a difference between like personalization and then relevance. Personalization is calling something out that is like certainly unique to the person you're contacting. Like it shows some segmentation of reaching out to them because they also live in Austin, or you went to the same school, or they raised funding or launched a new product. Relevance goes a layer deeper and ties that to or ties some insight that's still unique to a pain point that you can help solve in a specific way. So where we are going, and personalization is still important. So for me to say like, hey, Charles, like your headphones or cool shirt, or I don't do full Ironmans, I do half Ironmans, but those are all interesting things that are personalized that might get your ears or interest, ears piqued or interest sparked. But when it comes to relevance, and that's really where we're heading, it's and we're about to launch this feature pretty soon. It's like the analysis of a company's 10K report to pick out specific initiatives and like quoting actual phrases that are mentioned in the risks section to tie back to your value prop to put into the message.
I actually made a post on that last 2 weeks ago. So yeah, that is golden right there.
Yeah.
What about weird intros? I love using weird intros that pattern interrupt, written like in no caps and written in some funny-ish way, and using humor to have someone smile and interrupting their patterns, because everything looks the same nowadays. I'm not sure about your LinkedIn mailbox or your email mailbox, but it's all full of crap, like all the same messages, hey, Charles, and then a whole frigging block of text. And most of us, what we do in that case, we don't even read. We just skip because we don't have time to be pitched, and if we would kind of prioritize it and us fetch for the solution, not be fetched. So what do you think about like these weird openers? You haven't got one from me because you're like a referral, but I get like 95% of my guests on this pod with like, hey Charles, I think that top leads would be a good fit for the pod. We would talk about cold email and top leads, so like the vertical and the company tag on Apollo. Can I send the topics? And it's all written in lowercase. It's literally 2 lines, and that gets me reply rates of like 20% ish. And that works at scale. I can send 1,000 of those. At 20% means I'll get 200 response in one day. How do you interrupt patterns at scale? Is this the question I have?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it all comes back to just being as personalized and relevant as you can. So when you're doing something at scale, though, it's a bit more difficult to be personalized, to say, here's a list of 500 people that I went to college with. I guess you can still do that through LinkedIn filters, but I'll tell you what I do. I'll tell you how well it works, and then you can interpret that as you like. So we have outreach campaigns that run through LinkedIn, where I probably sent out about 4,000 or 5,000 requests and messages over the past couple of months. Much of this is done automatically. And for 100% cold outreach for some of our campaigns for multiple thousands of people, we have between a 30 and 35% response rate. And we're not doing anything fancy with the capitalization of words or spacing or emojis. It's very succinct, to the point. What we're doing is we're hitting a pain point absolutely head on that we know 100% or 99% that the person has who are reaching out to, and we're speaking their language. So we're talking to SDRs and account executives and sales managers and saying, writing personalized emails manually sucks. I know you spend a long time doing it. I did it myself for years and years. We've got a better way of doing it with AI. It's free to try. It takes 30 seconds to sign up. Is it worth a shot? Like, do you want to hear a little bit more about it? And people are like, oh, that's I could send that to anybody that fits that persona without knowing who they are by name, and they'll 1 in 3 will say yes, I'm interested.
But aren't like 80% of SDRs already using these technologies?
No.
Man, I am so
Well,
surprised
that's
by that.
everyone's using ChatGPT, but ChatGPT is not built for writing personalized emails. ChatGPT is the reason that companies like Jasper AI or Copy AI, companies that write blog posts, or even ChatGPT have done so well, in my opinion, in the business world, is for the marketing use case, because they're writing
Blog.
blogs, long form copy that someone is more than willing to spend 45 minutes editing before they post it. And if they don't edit it, the odds are your blog is going to be shit or like not that quality, or you'll have spent 2 hours working on the prompt. GPT-4 is definitely different in what Jasper's builds, and I've played with Copy AIs a bit. They're getting better and better, so like kudos to those teams. But still, the big difference is ChatGPT and most generative AI tools will take you 60% of the way there for something that a human is expected to spend a good 5-10 minutes editing or enriching. What they are not good at, ChatGPT can't bring in real-time results on a company's pain points or initiatives from news events or press releases or their financial papers or financial statements. So yes, SDRs are finding those things online. So like manually prospecting, manually creating the prompt, or like editing, restitching together prompts they've already written, pressing enter, and that will produce a similar outcome in the end. But we're shortcutting the entire research process as well. And we're also saying we're not going to leave it up to a salesperson to infer what insights are the most relevant. Because if I'm going to go sell to Apple, I could, as an SDR, I could spend 50 hours like researching the thousands of things that exist online on Apple. Or you could trust Autobound to pick the right things, collapse them into a single message. So we are branding ourselves as like an AI email writer, but we're also, we found messaging resonate really well that talks more about like research automation and like the actual prospecting process. Once you found somebody, like how to uncover really rich things about that person to then tie back into your message. And very, very few other players are doing that. We like to think we're doing it better than everybody else. So it's still a pretty relatively new category.
And for folks that have their own podcast, just a feature of scraping what they said on the pod and bringing it back could be cool. Yet it wouldn't be ethical to write an email saying, hey, I listened to the pod. Maybe you could write it in a way that doesn't sound like you actually listened to the pod, but I can certainly think of that and all the sources of insights, you know, when an AI starts cross-correlating data about your location, about what you posted on your Facebook, your Insta, and so forth, and makes human level conclusions, which are usually a bit creative, will there be a line that will be crossed between creepy and knowing too much and just knowing enough stuff to be relevant and to interrupt patterns?
Yeah, most definitely. We're not concerned about like crawling your LinkedIn to see where you went on vacation and like how old your kids are. We're much more concerned with which of your customers publicly churned over the past quarter, or what products have your competitors launched that you need to be aware of and like empower your sales team with competitive messaging against.
What about like second level conclusion? For example, if your employee headcount is growing, then you might have more marketing budget. That seems somewhat low-hanging fruit, and an AI could potentially do that and make these sorts of conclusions. What do you think about these?
AI is good at that. AI is, from what we've seen, AI is pretty good with, so long as it has context on the user's company and like their value proposition and personas, which we get through crawling and user input. AI is quite good at tying things together. Where it's not always as good at is doing so in like a compelling, legible, kick-ass email format, which is where we come in again. But what's just absolutely splendid with generative AI is you can say, write me a blog. Here's 50 things to include. Here's a couple things to avoid, and like write it in this style. And like it will do that. It's like the association and GPT-4 does it phenomenally well as well. So
Because
yeah,
what I'm talking about is probably levels, like if this, then that, and you don't necessarily need an AI, but the magic would be like there's one data point and the AI makes like 5 levels of conclusions. And when you write an email about the level 5 conclusion, then the guy is like, oh shit, yeah, that's right. How did you know that?
yeah. What's your question?
It's not a question. It's more like a statement or fact
Yeah,
that when because when we talk about emails, we talk about a product. You're delivering something to someone, and
right.
when you create magic, and when you're like, how the fuck did they know that? Or
Yeah,
wow, okay, that guy is smart. He did his homework. He's got some magic. Then yeah, I might reply
totally.
to him, especially if it's like two sentences and it's really simple. Um, my follow-up question, though, to you, which is something that you mentioned earlier, that most of the SDRs have that problem. How do you make sure to know what percentage of your ICP has that problem if it's not through experimentation?
For our outreach for user acquisition.
Any time, for example, okay, I do product market fit. I'm quite good at it. And how I make my conclusions, yes, sure, I read books, I listen to podcasts, but most importantly, I test these assumptions. I test my hypothesis through my cold email campaigns, and then I get clear conclusion. Holy shit, green tech is hot.
Yeah.
Um, can you do that on your side through testing at mass and give that info back to your clients, or do you just
Okay,
let
got it.
AI make its own conclusions?
Yeah, great question. For much of what we've built so far, it's been kind of algorithms we've programmed into the system based off best practices and like some training data that we created for the first couple of years in business. We are starting to expose a bit of that through analytics to users to say like this value prop for this persona works better than this value prop for that persona. Or here's how to tweak your messaging against this competitor because it doesn't resonate as well as this messaging could against that competitor. Those are in the works now, and we hope to expose them soon. But the goal is to use AI as well to like recommend tweaks and changes and let the person still be in charge of like modifying the controls on the spaceship so they can choose how, or so they can continue to add value into the system.
Have you ever thought of
Cool.
crowdsourcing insights? Like all your customers, they send all these emails. You measure the reply of these emails or LinkedIn outreach, and then you crowdsource back X insight and you share with the whole organism.
Yes, we've thought about that. That's something we'll do a bit later on once we've built out more of the analytics system as well.
What
Uh,
else is on the roadmap? Because the 10K is really smart. Like I can tell that will work like really
yeah,
well. What else do you have planned that is innovative and you think can potentially work at scale?
yeah, good question. We will, sorry, we will have a bulk content coming up very soon. So imagine uploading a list of 100 people's emails, and we'll give you back a list of 100 personalized emails written out, or 2 or 3 for each person. So we're kind of shifting into the automation of like full sequences, not just one-off messages, but sequences, and then doing it for batches of prospects in bulk. The ad we're going to run is like 1,000, write 1,000 personalized emails at once. We are also soon to launch a competitor to Apollo and Zoom Info. We already have the data, so we're just going to sell it for a hell of a lot cheaper. It's pretty good. So the
You should
purpose is
check out Contact Out. Also, have you checked them out?
contact out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's familiar.
It's an ex Apollo COO that branched out, and
Yeah,
he's selling like, yeah, 100K emails for $50 a month. He just killed the whole market.
yeah, it's a commodity. So kind of like what you said on how like congrats on the funding round. Cool to see that you also did this. Like that, those are, it's becoming less important. Everyone does that. So same with contact data. Everybody has a contact database.
Right.
We don't need to sell it to you for 25 grand. We're going to give it to you for $20 a month, and you can export 5,000 leads at once, as many times a day as you like.
Right. And that's somewhat scary, no? Like that the fact that anyone can access that for cheap. Well, won't that bring like tons of spam and fuck up the whole market?
Good question. And the contact data is already readily available for anybody who wants to get it. The hope is that through systems like Autobound, we are going to force and guide users, like give them the roadmap to creating compelling messaging, so spam isn't an issue. At some point, though, we are also thinking about creating like an inbox monitoring system for our users too, so you can kind of weed and hone out bad or irrelevant messaging by interpreting the content that's hitting your inbox. But there's some cool companies out there in that space doing it, like Gated. If you haven't heard of them, definitely check out. They got a pretty
Had
cool.
him on my pod, yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he's in SF Andy. I actually referred him to a friend that's there right now as we speak. Following these trends, don't you think the SDR position will disappear and that will leave more work to AEs, and what we're going to see is like tons of leads generated, but people disappointed by AEs that are not upskilled, or maybe like AEs will get super skilled from talking to so many folks generated by AI. What do you think? How do you think that will affect the sales industry and the market?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, I think there will be a few different trends that we'll see how everything else kind of morphs around them. Like the SDR role, more and more of it will become automated, though pulling the levers and setting up products like Autobound and configuring them. Just think like the future SDR is going to replicate the output of 5 current SDRs. And there's some tasks they'll just never have to do again, like cleaning lists, writing email copy. They'll more so be in a way like running experiments or modifying the different tools or products that help them like experiments on their outreach to increase conversion. For AEs and customer success, other people in that cycle, I think like companies like Gong and Outreach and SalesLoft and ZoomInfo's Chorus that are more often used by AEs will continue to evolve. They've already done some pretty cool stuff, making it easier to become more effective quickly in the sales process. And we're seeing, but long story short, yes, it's going to put more pressure on account executives to get deals closed at a faster rate. What I think, and I hope more companies will do, is take a product-led approach. So a lot of what we do is we outbound to get people to try our product, and there's no work that we need to do to get them on board, and no work in theory for at least small teams that we need to do to get deals closed. So account executives are important, and we play that role as well, but I hope that AI will help accelerate the creation of like intuitive to use tools, and usability and like GitHub with Copilot's freaking awesome. So as teams can build faster, it should hopefully take some burden off of account executives to do a freaking 18-month sales cycle to get a team onboarded and ramped onto an enterprise level product, or even.
Yeah. I don't think there will be win-lose sales that much in like 5 years. We've already seen that decrease drastically this year. It's like power to the communities, it's win-win, and product-led is becoming the norm. If AI is replacing, folks that are super adaptable, do you think it will one day replace you as a CEO of the company?
It's the $1 million question right there, or $1 trillion question. Yes.
And you'll be the chairman, sort of?
Who knows, man? My whole thing is I'd like to get as close to the underlying technology and the business model and the people that are creating it and controlling it, where hopefully with the right people with the right intentions in charge, we can build humanity out in a way that is positive alongside AI as a technology, because there's a lot of ways it can go wrong.
And you see yourself chilling and snowboarding and surfing while these GPTs are running your company, or do you think you kind of need business in your life?
I need to push myself in life. I've thought about this. I actually posted on LinkedIn maybe like 6 or 8 months ago. Like, is the future of effective or successful AI just everybody on vacation? And I don't know. To me, that sounds kind of like hell. Imagine 6 months into it. Um, I don't know how fun that would really be. So we've got some time before then. Maybe I'll pick up some more hobbies. Hard to
You
say,
already
but
have quite a few.
yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, challenging question. I mean, yeah, my wedding's coming, and theoretically, I'm supposed to take like 2 weeks off, and I've gone back and forth with myself already to it, and so far, at first it was like blocking full time. By the way, I've done that in the last 7 years of being an entrepreneur, or 10. I always like book 1 or 2 or 3 weeks, or at one point 4 weeks off. Um, and yeah, this year it's like, okay, first I blocked the full time. Then after it's like, no, I'm going to do 50-50, like
yeah.
work in the morning and chill in the evening. And yeah, let's see where that goes. Maybe
There you go, man.
in a dystopia, I will work like 75% of the time on my honeymoon. Who knows? But I love what I do. And if you love what you do, if you challenge yourself on a daily basis, yeah, you're not going to burn out. You can scale.
Yep.
Daniel, thank you for showing up today. Where can people find out more about you?
Find me on LinkedIn. If you search Daniel Wiener, there's not too many of us out there. Or check out Autobound.ai. Like automating outbounds, Autobounds.ai. But yeah, I'm pretty active online too. So shoot me a request. Would love to chat. Um, are you in I'll be in Cozumel, Mexico for the half Ironman in September. I don't know if you said Ironmans and retreats. So if you're around, you should come stop by.
Yeah, it's a new Ironman product. They're called Ironman Retreat. No, just kidding. I won't. So when will you be there? Actually,
September, late September.
September.
Yeah,
I will
be
be. No,
fun.
I won't. Yeah, that's too early. I will be there for my second honeymoon in Tulum in
Nice.
October, something like that. But yeah, good performance for that. Yeah, we're gonna close the pod off. If people want to start or scale or